everybody, this is Sunny from Sunny Side Up Journals, and today I'm just going to be relaxing and decorating the pages of my current junk journal. This is a journal that I built myself out of recycled and upcycled materials that I probably would have put either in the trash or in the recycling, but they meant something to me, so I created a junk journal out of them, and I love it so much. It's so crinkly. So what I'm going to be doing today is just some mindless putting down watercolor, putting down some washi tape, maybe some stamps, putting some fodder pieces down just to get the pages nice and lived in and ready to journal in. I really like adding paint here. I like to add paint that sort of matches or reflects or is complementary to what I see on the facing page. So with that very dark chocolatey brown bag that's on the right hand side, I thought it would be nice to lay down some light brown but similar toned paint on the left side. Just checking to see if everything is dry before I do things, like before I glue stuff to it. There's this old piece of fodder. It's like a bunch of tickets that were like sticky tickets or like stamps that were glued onto an old page. It's a piece of vintage ephemera that I got in a fodder pack from Tiffany Sharp. And I decided to just turn the whole thing because it's got the stamps on both sides. I didn't want to just glue it down. I thought I would turn it into a little tip-in, and my washi tape was really not cooperating with me, so that's why you'll notice that it's like in pieces, and I've had to like take some of the pieces that ripped off and put it elsewhere. I also decided that I wanted to add a little something to the upper right hand corner of this left page, and I have all of these little they're like little pieces of confetti. Some of them are sequins. I got them in a little pack from Blick, and I thought, well, I like the brown, but I also want there to be a little bit of pizzazz. So I put down these little stars that are made of like confetti material, and I think they add a little something there to the page that I really, really like. So this page is sort of the inner side of a shopping bag. So it's going to be kind of hard to work with because it's got that tape on there. I also previously added like half of an envelope, so it made a pocket, and I thought, I want to put something in the pocket ahead of time that I can later journal in, so I did add that little taggy that I had lying around that I had made at some point and put it in the little pocket for later. And then just to reflect some of that blue, I thought I would get a collection of my blue paints, use a little bit of turquoise, a little bit of sort of that aquamarine, some darker blue, some of that turquoise, which is like my favorite color ever. The combo of turquoise and coral are like my favorite. And then adding some speckles of deep violet, and then I didn't want to waste that violet paint, so I just ended up dabbing it on the top of that facing page, and I kind of like it. Getting that all dried off. Good. Looking great. And then I was kind of in the mood to add a little bit more of the sequins, this time little light blue circles, but my glue was being very obstinate, so I decided to just use my glue stick and it does okay. If it ever falls off, you know what? It's fine. And I'm just doing it to add a little bit of interest to the corners of the page. I'm really into decorating corners of pages. Okay, so we're moving on to the next page. And this one is nice because it's actually watercolor paper, so I know it's going to hold up. So I'm going to add a little bit of fodder to the bottom. This is fodder that I created, and I think I might make a video of how I make that fodder. I've never seen anyone do it in that way, so maybe I'll share it with everybody, see if that's something they might be interested in. And I thought, okay, I have a bottom border. I think I'm going to make a little tag. And folks, this little tag causes me so much stress. Like, I put it in, I think, okay, I'm done with it, right? And then you'll see it rearing its ugly head again soon. It just does not want to stick because it was painted on with acrylic paint, and it just did not want to stick to watercolor paper. You live and learn, right? And then I thought, okay, it's too boring. I need to add some paint to it. So I got some of that purple paint, which is one of my favorites, and did the border. And there I go again. That tag just will not stick. I also like to double fist it when it comes to journaling. I draw with one hand and I paint with the other at the same time. See, or sometimes I'm holding down one side while the other is, the other hand is painting. Why not, right? Sometimes I don't have enough time to journal, and so these little journaling sessions are so precious to me that I want to get as much done during that time as possible. I also added a little bit of washi to the top edge and bottom edge, and then I decided to do a light stamp of, my stamp's dirty, a light stamping of this cute date stamp that looks really cute there. It's I decided to use distress stamp pads because they're a little bit lighter than my big, very heavy inky ones. And then I was like, no, I can't leave this page completely white. So I just take the lightest washes of remnant paint from my palette and just add the tiniest bit of pigment, just so that there's something down. You can see that afternoon sun streaming in from my window. I don't know if it bothers you. Oh, that tag. So here it is. I get out the big guns, everybody. I have the Fabri-Tac out. I don't like Fabri-Tac because it smells horrible, and I'm not in the most well-ventilated part of my house. But when it calls, this stuff will stick anything to anything. And then I think about maybe doing some fabric trim and decide against it because I don't feel like using my sewing machine, and I'm not going to do that by hand. So here I'm laying down a wash of just clear, plain old water, and then I'm just taking some paint and dropping it into the water to see what happens, to let it just spread and work itself across the page. I think I realized halfway through that this is actually mixed media paper, not watercolor paper, because if I were using watercolor paper, it would spread a lot more. But it's cool. Mixed media paper's nice and durable as well. And then just, again, laying down a little bit of random marks here and there, and also using this heat gun to get the page from curvy to flat again, because if you paint water on something, it sort of wants to convex out, and then you dry it and then it shrinks back to flat. Fun tip. And then I go back to the previous page. I want to add a little something to it. The corners felt a little blank. You know how I love decorating corners. So I got a little bit of fabric that I have sitting around in a little fabric remnants bowl on my desk, and I just get the fabric down with glue stick. That seems to work just fine. And then I get out the Fabri-Tac for the cardboard or the watercolor piece of fodder that I learned how to make in fodder school. Anyone else here a fodder schooler? I love it. So anyway, I'm gluing that down. And then on this page, I want to add a little bit of stuff to it. I put down some polka dot washi. I think that is my current favorite washi tape. And then I find this this stencil, and I just put a little bunting down on the top of the facing page. I know that this paper, the little one, is very, very thin, and it's not going to hold up well to watercolor, and so I decided to get my, here we go, get my Inktense pencils. I'm not even going to water it. I'm just going to use it as a colored pencil, although when you do activate it with water, it turns into ink. One of the coolest things I've ever used. And then I'm just going to color in the bunting with purple and green, which I think look really pretty together. See, it does bleed through a little bit, but I'm pretty happy with it. And then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add this little piece of fabric that I found on my desk that I thought would be perfect as a tag. Again, the thin paper is not going to hold much at all, and I don't want to weigh it down. So what I end up doing is I end up adding a little bit of glue and turning it into a tag for the next piece of paper, the next page, that is a little more sturdy. And that's it. Thank you so much for joining me.